I'm in a bad mood, it's because I am. I just tried recording this video and I was halfway through and it beeped at me and I didn't realize what it meant, and what it meant was I didn't have enough space to store it. So now I'm redoing this thing. Oh gosh. Alright, so we're going to do number 12 on page 423, and it reads, the letters V, W, X, and Y represent numbers as shown on the number line below. Which of the following expressions has the least value? Alright, so let's jump into our who, what, when, where, and how questions. And it looks like I reversed my order there. I don't know why I did that. Usually I do the when first, but it doesn't really matter. So starting with the what question, I already wrote it down, but this is well, it kind of looks like a geometry problem because we have a number line there, we have a diagram. And it's okay if we say it's a geometry problem because it is. It's also an arithmetic problem. And we're going to see why that's the case later when we start actually doing this thing. The where question asks, where is this on the test? This is number 12 out of 16 on this particular section, which tells us that this is probably either going to be a medium or a hard question. We don't necessarily know. This one is actually ranked hard by the College Board, but we're not going to know that just by looking at it. And then the when question asks how much time do we have? And since this is only number 12, we probably still have a decent amount of time to complete this. And then the how question, how are we going to do this problem? What method are we going to use? And as I said earlier, this is actually an arithmetic problem, sort of in disguise, and we're going to use arithmetic to solve this guy. And we'll see how to do that in just a minute. So finally, we're going to ask the who question. Do you want to attempt this problem or do you want to skip it? And this one's a good one to attempt. It looks like it might take a little bit of time to solve based on the fact that our answer choices all have these unknowns in them. But this is a good one to do. So I would encourage you to try a problem like this on the test because we have a lot to work with. So let's get into how we're going to do this problem. Notice they give us a number line. And they don't tell us if this thing is not drawn to scale, therefore we can assume it is. So the really cool thing about this is we can actually estimate values for X, Y, W, and V, and actually assign values to those unknowns and solve it that way. So we're going to make this problem into a really concrete problem where all we're dealing with is numbers, which is what we like to do whenever possible. Numbers are much easier to work with than variables or unknowns. So let's first, I underline here what we're solving for, which is the answer choice that yields the least value or the smallest value. So keep that in mind when we start going through these answer choices. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to assign values for X, Y, W, and V. And if you notice on our number line here, they give us the points 0, 1, and -1, and then they give us these tick marks. And it looks like these tick marks are equally spaced. And if we count them up, there are 1, 2, 3 tick marks between 0 and 1, and 1, 2, 3 tick marks between 0 and -1. And so we can actually conclude that the spacing between each tick mark is 1/4 or 0.25. Now I'm going to use decimals because I think it's easier to add and subtract decimals than fractions. But if you want to use fractions, you certainly can. I'll actually write it in both ways. But when we actually do the addition and subtraction, I'll use decimals. Okay, so let's assign a value for X. So X is 1/4 or 1/4 away from 0, which makes it 1/4 or 0.25. Now Y is 1/4 to the left of 1, which makes it 3/4 or 0.75. And then V, we see, is 1/4 away from -1. It's to the right of it. So V is actually greater than -1 by 1/4, which makes V -3/4 or -0.75. And then we have W, which is 1/4 away from V, 1/4 to the right of V, which means it's 1/4 greater than V, which means it is -1/2, which is the same as -2/4, which is the same as -0.5. All right, so now we have numbers for all of these letters, and all we're going to do now is plug in our numbers here into the answer choices and see which answer choice yields the least value. So we'll start with A, And A wants us to add V and Y. V is negative 0.75. So we're going to add negative 0.75 to Y, which is 0.75. And we see that that gives us 0. Going to answer choice B, we're going to take V, which is negative 0.75, and add X to that, which is 0.25. And when we do the addition there, I think we get negative 0.5. And then for answer choice C, we're going to add W and X. W is negative 0.5, and X again is 0.25, negative 0.5. And when we add those together, we get negative 0.25. And then D, we're going to take V and subtract W from that. So negative 0.75. Now the subtract, 0.75, not 0.78. 0.75. Now the subtraction here is important. Notice we're subtracting for these last two answer choices and not adding. So we're going to take V and subtract W from that. 0.5, negative 0.5. And so we get negative 0.25 for that one as well. And then lastly, answer choice E, we're going to take Y, which is 0.75, and subtract X, which is 0.25. And if we do the subtraction there, we get 0.5. And we see, as we scan our list of 5 answer choices, that the smallest one is negative 0.5, which represents answer choice B. And therefore, we got our answer. All right, so pretty simple there, right? We just used basic arithmetic. We assigned some numbers to our letters and solved. It took a little while. This is sort of a methodical way to do it, but it's also a way to pretty much ensure yourself that you're going to get the right answer.